Alright everyone, let's talk about the biggest story in the Tesla world that nobody's talking about while everyone's distracted about Elon Musk buying Twitter or Mobile Connector Gate or whatever else. Tesla's pushing out updates to FSD Beta. There are now 100,000 cars running this in the US and Canada, and they're making pretty steady improvements. Let's go for a drive, check out how things are going. This is so significant. You don't see it in the newspaper. You don't see a headline when one of these updates come out. But this is probably the most important business and technology story happening in the world right now. And people dismiss it. They say, well, it's not driverless. It doesn't matter until it's driverless. They just don't get it. They can't wrap their heads around this, that 100,000 cars are running this software right now, that it's going to change the way we drive a car. It's like looking at an iMac G3 or G4 running Mac OS X and saying, well, this isn't an iPhone. It's meaningless. Well, of course it wasn't an iPhone, but it ran Mac OS X, an operating system that became the foundation for the iPhone through the process of being developed for computers like the iMac and the iBook. And it's the same thing here. This isn't driverless, but this is the foundations of a driverless car. And it's a meaningful step in that direction. So let's go for a drive. I'll show you how this works. Take me to Apple Store, Chestnut Street. Alright, there we go. It figured out where we wanted to go. And now, let's head there. All we do is, here's the gear shifter. It has reverse, neutral, drive. If I want to put it in auto drive, I just push it down to drive twice. Here's somebody unloading a truck, very common in San Francisco. Now it's got to make a right turn. Checking to make sure it's clear. Handling the stopped cars on the side. We got a pedestrian, someone pulling into their driveway. All handles it smoothly and effortlessly. And you take a look at how it stops at the stop sign. Never would I slow to that speed to cross an intersection or be this cautious. People are generally being, not stopping fully. They're doing rolling stops. They're not checking. There's so many pedestrians, so many cyclists in this area. I think you can understand how the software has the potential to have better driving policy, safer, more conservative driving choices than almost any driver, and certainly much better than the average one already. I mean, really the bigger problem is that people will get impatient and turn it off, but really you see the potential here, if you can get people to adopt this, that they will make safer driving choices. And it's easy for me. I don't have to do anything. I've just been sitting here the whole time while we've been moving around San Francisco. Not exactly an easy place to drive through. Like, this gives humans anxiety to drive through this city. And you can imagine in a suburb, obviously, it works much better than it works here. You can see everything being drawn on the visualization that the car sees. I can glance down at the visualization and see, yes, there's a straight line going forward. The car knows it needs to go forward, and it sees all of the relevant objects that are important to decide how to control the car. It sees this motorcyclist coming here, and it knows to give him room and wait before it passes this truck. This is a breakthrough in software. Nobody thought this was possible. You know how it's finding the distance to every object, the distance to this pedestrian, the distance to the kid in the stroller, which, interestingly, it thinks is a bike. I think they're starting to add a stroller animation, though, but it's all doing it with cameras. They've trained the cameras with radar and LiDAR ground truth data, and now they can find the distance to all the objects with just cameras, which means you could scale this. You could put this in every car insanely cost effectively. Okay, so this is our destination. Take me to the Palace of Fine Arts. So I put it in a new destination, and off we go. Isn't that awesome? I can just sit here and explore the city just by sitting here and saying, hey, I want to go here, I want to go there. And the car is just like, okay, let's go. Oh, see, that kind of looks like a stroller. Or actually, you know what? People were thinking it's a stroller, but I think it's actually a small bike. That it's rendering it as a small bike. Okay, let's not run over this old lady, hopefully. Very good. Now, if it had tried to run over the old lady, some people might say, oh my god, it tried to run over an... Yeah, I know. It tried to run over an old lady. That's horrible. But the car has a camera up here. It's monitoring to make sure I'm paying attention. And as long as I'm paying attention, I'll take control and make sure it doesn't run over that old lady. So, as shocking as it may seem, even if the car did try to occasionally run over old ladies, you've got the human safety driver, and they're going to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's something that, you know, a true driverless car, the bar has to be much higher because it doesn't have that. So I think for at least a while, unless we have a few years of really having it battle tested, it is good to have human supervision. It's a good way to launch, and I think it's something that consumers will ultimately prefer because they won't be able to trust the software until they've really had a lot of experience with it. And then when I've had this thing drive me to work, you know, 1,000 times, and it's worked 1,000 times perfectly, better than I can drive, then sure, maybe I'll trust to get in the back seat and let it drive. Okay, this looks like a problem up ahead. We won't be able to get around that. Let's see if the car is able to sense that automatically and make a plan to go around it. Okay, not looking good. Oh, there we go. It wants to change lanes. Will it do it? Yes. Oh, that's so good. I'm so happy. It makes me happy when it does the right thing. And like sometimes in the past I would have to put on the blinker. You can do that. You can put on the blinker up or down to tell it which lane you want it to drive in. So sometimes I would put on the blinker and it would get out, but it did that without me telling it needs to get around. So that makes me happy. And these are the little improvements you see. You'll see a problem at a certain intersection every time, and so you usually turn it off before because you know the problem's coming, and then you do it and turn it back on, and then one day that problem just disappears, and hopefully it doesn't come back. Sometimes it comes back a little bit, but then it goes away permanently. And you see all these little problems that you had to deal with every time you pass that area, and then they just disappear, and it's the best feeling. And over time, I just have more and more zero takeover drives. A zero takeover drive being a time where I didn't have to grab the wheel and move it or do anything. Okay, here's another problem up ahead. We got a bus blocking the way. Now what will it do? Oh, okay. I'm telling you guys, this shit is getting good. Like, buy Tesla stock. Not financial advice, but I think that you should do it. I think that the FSD software by itself is $1 trillion business that's not being really factored into anybody's valuation. They're valuing the auto business. This software is going to completely change the economics of the entire auto industry, and it's happening a lot faster than anyone thinks. And yeah, now we're here, Palace of Fine Arts.